And good evening, this is Bob W6CGX, and I'll be your net control operator for tonight's Papa Great Outdoor Net. This net meets every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific. This is a directed net, so please go through net control at all times, and your cooperation is always greatly appreciated. Stations with emergency or priority traffic can come into the net at any time with a double break, and net control will respond appropriately. The Papa system is an open membership supported system in the Southern California area with coverage from the Mexican border to Paso Robles and from the Channel Islands to Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're a visitor to the Papa system tonight, I invite you to go to papasys.com, that's PAPASYS.com, and register as a guest. With your guest registration, you'll have 45 days of free access to the Papa system. At the end of your one-time 45-day guest access period, we'd love for you to become a subscribed member, continue to use the Papa system on a daily basis, and be part of the Papa system family. However, all amateurs are welcome to participate in the daily, weekly, and monthly Papa system nets regardless of their membership status. Again, this is the Papa system Great Outdoor Net. Good evening. Happy Sunday to everybody out there. This is Bob W6CJX, and this is the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. Like I said, it's not just any Sunday. This is a special Sunday. So with that, what am I doing? I'm here. Hope you guys are here too. It sounds like we might have a fun night tonight. I got all my fans going. They're all behind me. Yay! And we will come back with some announcements. Stand by.
Here is the Papa System weekly calendar for the latest news and upcoming events. The Papa Orange County Luncheon. The Papa System will be meeting in person on Saturday, July 25th at 11:30 a.m. at the Sizzler in Fullerton. 1401 North Harbor Boulevard, Fullerton, California. Everyone is welcome. Come on out and meet some of the people who you hear and enjoy talking to on the air. We will also be offering ham license testing at 10 a.m. for technician, general and amateur extra class licenses. Please RSVP for the luncheon at 11:30 and register for ham license testing at 10 a.m. on the Papa website. As always, the Papa Quick Start program runs in conjunction with all our test sessions and is a benefit for newly licensed technician class ham radio operators. Please see the Papa website for more information. You are encouraged to check in on the Papa System, Wednesday night New Hams Net, with Steve, KI6LOV, at 7 p.m., and let him know if you are part of the Quick Start program. So please, come out and support your local Papa breakfast and luncheons. Upcoming, future events, in the month of August. The Papa Valley Breakfast will be on Saturday, August 8th, at 7:30 a.m. The Papa Inland Empire Breakfast. Papa will be meeting on Saturday, August 8th at 9 a.m. Also, NI6IW, Special Events Station on the USS Midway, will all be meeting on Saturday, August 8. All this information, and a whole lot more, can be found on the Papa System emails, and on the Papa website at papasys.com.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Let's see, it'd be 10 a.m., and that's for the Inland Empire meeting, monthly meeting. So that's all been corrected. I got bobbleheaded. I got bamboozled at the beginning of the net. I was trying to get over there to do that. Anyway, that's our announcements of things coming up. This week is the Orange County Luncheon, and then that kind of is our end of month deal, and then we've got a couple weeks until the next event, so we hope to see everyone at the next events coming up. Well, let's see if we've given enough time for Steve to come back from the DRT land out there. I know he did a great job, as always, in the DRT net tonight. So let's see if he's back from the other duties he does and see if he has a trail report for us this week. I think he does, so stand by.
Well, Bob, it's lucky I have a helicopter to bring me from Topanga back to Santa Monica. Well, not really. I just sit here at my station and do it. This is Steve. And I was out on the trail this weekend, I won't blah, blah, blah too much about me because I was on last night on the round table as well. But allow me to say that it was hot on the trail. But, it's summer. It's hot in the summer, cold in the winter. But I do have a Big Bear Bald Eagle update. When you get into the routine of watching the Big Bear Bald Eagles, it's sometimes challenging for various reasons, and over the years it's been mostly to do, in fact, it's been all to do with the offspring and various issues there. But currently, and there isn't much information about this, so I'm not going to speculate, but there was an adult bald eagle seen in a fight with two sub-adults that are not from the area, and this occurred apparently on the ground, and the adult was somehow injured and could not fly away. It's assumed to be Jackie because she hasn't been back to the nest, but she has been secured by a raptor rehab team, and I didn't even see where she may have been taken to, but there's no further information on that, but be assured that Shadow will be, and he already is, defending the nest and taking care of Sandy and Luna. Now, as I would say that as long as her injuries are not serious enough, that she would be grounded for life as soon as she is ready and released back at Big Bear. I'm sure she's going to find the nest, and everything's going to be cool. Now, it's you never know what Shadow might do, but he's pretty loyal, and I doubt he's going to leave the nest for quite some time regardless. So, with that, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's how it rolls tonight on the Great Outdoor Net. So stay tuned. This is KI6LOV. Back to you, Bob.
The Big Bear bad news. The Bad News Bears? Well, we could go on forever on that one. No, that's God, that's tragic. We've been following them for so long, and like you said, you don't want to speculate, but that's some of the things that I was hearing too, that it might be her. And it's interesting that a couple other juveniles came in and did something. That's okay. Hopefully she'll be fine. I think she will. And but I did hear that they were rescued. So thank you, Steve, and thank you for last night. That was good. That was a great net, and very eye-opening to some people, and all the different things that are failing. I mean, how many years can a pipe last? 100 years? Wow. So at some point, things are going to happen like that. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. As always, you're a big part of the net, and we all enjoy and listening to anything you have for us, too. So with the net tonight, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole of all kinds of motorcycles. I know we have some motorcyclists out there. So I come from, let's see, 67, 68 when I got my first, not even a mini bike. It was a Honda 50 Trail, and Honda Trail 50. I don't remember. I still see them. They're around somewhere. But that was like the coolest, it's the coolest Christmas gift I've ever got. Especially had a gas tank and had a throttle. It wasn't just a mini bike, it was the real deal. So that started my off-roading career. I enjoyed that so very much, and have a lot more to talk about too with that. So before we go into picking some check-ins, I do have a 101 tonight. I call them 101s if I can find it. Where is it? Oh, it is over here. And it's a little bit about the movie On Any Sunday. That's what I'm it was 1971. It's not like it's the 50th anniversary or anything. I kind of blew that one. It's like the 53rd anniversary, I think, or something. But it happened and it was released in July. And to me, when I went to see that in a theater, we didn't have anything else back then. I was just like, wow. I was already into motorcycles, but that just was like, if I could have watched it every night, I probably would have. So stand by, and we'll see if we can get educated.
This is Andrew, and I will be your Papa System, Great Outdoor Research host for this evening. On Any Sunday, is a legendary 1971 American documentary about the sport of motorcycle riding and was directed by Bruce Brown. It is widely considered one of the most influential and important motorcycle documentaries ever made. It was co-produced and featured Steve McQueen, who was a massive movie star and an avid motorcycle racer in real life. His involvement helped bring the film and motorcycle culture into the mainstream. The film explores various forms of motorcycle racing, including the AMA Grand National Championship, motocross, desert racing, ice racing, and the Bonneville Salt Flat Speed Trials. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature in 1972. It is credited with changing the public perception of motorcyclists from outlaws to athletes. It sparked a massive boom in dirt bike sales in the 1970s. Bruce Brown, who also made the iconic surfing documentary, The Endless Summer. This film captured the pure joy, camaraderie, and thrill of searching for endless waves to ride. Now, Bob, you've told me that you used to attend the Lake Elsinore Grand Prix back in the day. This is one of the most storied and culturally significant dirt bike races in American history. What started as a chaotic, small-town race in the late 1960s quickly exploded into a global phenomenon, reshaping the public's view of motorcycling and cementing the city of Lake Elsinore, California, as a motorsports landmark. Another racing fan favorite in the movie was the legendary duo of John McCown and his dog, Kooky. A mixed-breed pup loved riding so much that John modified his Husqvarna motorcycle by gluing a piece of carpet to the gas tank to give Kooky some grip. The Elsinore Grand Prix is just one of the amazing races that were captured by the documentary crew that made the movie so popular. This has been Andrew, your Papa System research host, and now back to Bob, W6CJX, net control for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much. Yeah. That's actually the intro to On Any Sunday, if you remember, or if you go back and look at it. I found it on YouTube today. Had to go watch it. I just couldn't stop. It was great. We watched that in between Dodger games. And that's the one where the guy that looks like me gets on this little mini bike, or it wasn't even a mini bike, but a very small motorcycle and takes off. So there's a lot of humor in Bruce Brown's movies. And, of course, like he said, there was Endless Summer, and it's just one of those iconic type of movies back in the day. So with that, I just wanted to...
KI6LOV, break please, Bob.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, I have some breaking news, Bob, and I thought this was important. I just saw a feed pop up on YouTube where there is footage of Big Bear Bald Eagle rescue by the San Dimas Raptor Rescue Team and L.A. County Parks. And whatever the identity of the eagle is, I personally believe it to be Jackie, but they have her in under care, and we wish her only the best. Anyway, Bob, thought I'd jump in there with that update. KI6LOV.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it is important because we've all been following, you know, the whole miracle of nature as with they had the hatchings and just it's just been, you know, been like an every morning ritual, at least for us while we're having our coffee, to check in on the nest. So thank you for that, Steve, very much. So yeah, just wanted to, you know, kind of, we don't have to talk about the movie so much if you don't want to. There's some really good stuff on there. I think that's just this, you know, if you were influenced in any way, if you've ever, you know, rode a motorcycle, I guess anything counts. So it's not like it has to be dirt bike and they had to do it back in the 60s, 70s. No, if you do it now, we'd love to hear that too. So let's take a few check-ins. Let's see what what's going on down the road in the off-road world of that. I've gone on some pretty neat trips I could talk about a little bit, and maybe you guys have gone on some nice cross-country type trips too on motorcycles. So let's take a few check-ins and we'll get started.
KO6
November 6
HTA.
Alpha, Quebec, Dale.
Hotel November Golf.
W6 Foxtrot, Victor November, Jim, Cerritos.
Hotel Alpha Lima.
Whiskey 6, Sierra Juliet Mike.
KO6 MRX.
N6 UTD.
Kilo India 6 Charlie Sierra.
Alpha Bravo 6, Mike Bravo, Jeff.
Kilo Foxtrot 4, Papa Quebec Hotel, Ron.
Kilo Oscar 6, Oscar Juliet Whiskey, Mandy.
Kilo Oscar 6, Delta Golf X-Ray, Rip.
Kilo Delta 6, Lima Lima Bravo, Logan.
Kilo 6 Delta Victor.
KM6AVH.
K6YCI.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to put the brakes on. I already filled out my page, so we'll just conclude the net now. Wow, that was overwhelming. Not, well, in a good way, right? W6CJX, your net control. All right, well, I think I got everybody. I think I got everybody. I'll just leave it at that. So let's go with what I have on the list, and I'll beg for forgiveness if I didn't, and would love to hear from you. So let's start off with Hotel Tango Alpha. And I don't know if that's Jackie. I think so. So go ahead if it's Jackie. Hotel Tango Alpha.
This is Kilo Oscar 6 Hotel Tango Alpha, Jackie. I have never ridden a motorcycle, but I have been around them. I'm actually the scorekeeper to this day right now. I'm a scorekeeper for motocross, flat track, and speedway, so I'm really into the motorcycles. And I did see the movie. I know all the speedway riders that were in the second movie that they did, and I have met Malcolm Smith. So it's kind of awesome that you chose this topic because it's something I know about. So they still have speedway races at Costa Mesa and City of Industry. They have motocross, of course, at Glen Helen and Paris. That's something I'm really interested in, and I love doing it, and I usually do it every weekend, scorekeeping. All right, back to you, KO6HTA.
Well, we couldn't have set that one up if we tried. That's wonderful, Jackie. Wow. We have no idea unless we bring up a subject like this that people have. I would have never guessed that in a million years. So that's just really, really awesome. Being affiliated and doing scoring for motocross. Wow. Well, I lived that literally every day when I was going through elementary school and into junior high and then into high school. I mean, I just lived and breathed motorcycles. We desert raced. We went down to the Baja. We went to Malcolm Smith's store, bought a few motorcycles from him over there in Riverside because we were up in Idlewild. So that was one of our stores. But he was an amazing person, period, but just really nice and nice guy. Well, thank you, Jackie. I better move along. I guess I won't be able to tell too many of my tales today, but really appreciate you coming in there with that and enlightening us with what you do. I think that's awesome. Let's say hello to Dale in 6AQQ. Welcome, Dale.
Good evening, everybody. This is Dale in 6AQQ. Motorcycles. I've been on a passenger several times on motorcycles, but I've never owned one. My brother owns a motorcycle, but I don't. Anyway, good evening, everybody, in 6AQQ.
Well, these days, I wouldn't be too big on riding one on the highway. I know a lot of people do, and God bless, I love it. But unless it was in somewhere in like a better backcountry area or something like that, just on the freeways and stuff, that's not for me. Just take all the back streets, the Backstreet Boys. That'd be a new motorcycle club. Thank you, Dale. And let's say hello to Adrian, KK6HNG.
Good evening, Bob, and everybody on the net. This is Adrian, KK6HNG. Well, motorcycle, no, I'm not really a motorcycle guy in any way. But sure, I have a lot of respect to what some of those off-roaders are able to do. Like about a year ago, I decided to go around Lake Silverwood, which I did. And I hiked around it. That is about 20 miles or so. And part of the hike was on off-road vehicle trails and roads. So I was thinking, looking on my GPS, what a big deal. I'm going to do that. No big deal. Not going to do the road, going to do the trail. Well, very little did I know. I found myself on top of a hill. And I was looking down like a very, very steep slope and pretty eroded that I was thinking, no, on my 2 feet with hiking sticks, whatever, not gonna do it. So moved back to the so-called road, U.S. Forest Road, which, mind you, it was very challenging even for 4x4 vehicles, but at least it was hikeable. That being said, I've seen passing me by a lot of my motorcycles, off-road motorcycles especially, that were doing amazing things. I mean, I was not able to hike the way they were able to go down on those steep slopes. So that's my experience with that, real experience, not just movie. KK6HNG, back to net control.
Well, thank you, Adrian. Yeah, there's a lot of off-road trails out there that kind of combine both some of the logging roads. You can go out and ride motorcycles or Jeeps and things like that too. And, a lot of the real experienced, some of the really good racers came out of Europe, especially Belgium. There's one guy that I'm trying to think of his name, but he was very famous. And, I think motocross kind of evolved in Europe, if I can remember correctly. I should have studied that a little bit harder today. I was doing some research today. Well, thank you, Adrian. And the next station, I had a conversation with this gentleman, maybe 13, 14 years ago. And one of our very first conversation was about motorcycles. And then it led to going across the border down into Mexico. And then it led to, you know where Mike's Sky Ranch is? Wow. So Google that if you don't know where Mike's Sky Ranch is. WD6FZA. Welcome tonight. Thank you for being there.
Well, good evening, everybody. I was just sitting here thinking of my first motorcycle that I had, and I don't know how old I was, about 14 or 13 years old. I actually bought most people listening tonight probably never even heard of it. It was a Wizard motorbike. And I'll tell you what, that was really a blast to have a Wizard motorbike when you were in high school. The next one was in the late 60s, was a step-through chopper Honda 50, and graduated to a 175 Yamaha. And we used to go down to Easter vacation and during the summer, and did a lot of dry camping down at a place called Castro's Camp in Baja. And it's a dry campground. There's you got the beach to yourself. It was just unbelievable. We probably went there 10 or 15 years in a row, and from there we would ride our motorcycles. I graduated from a step-through chopper Honda to a 175 Yamaha, and we used to ride from the beach there up to Mike's Sky Ranch, and that's quite a ride. And we'd ride up and down the coast too. And of course we all went to see on any Sunday. Yeah, we did a lot of camping, and we've had a few accidents where my son actually ran into a bull and got hurt, and we had another individual neighbor of ours that went off a cliff, and we had to rush him to Ensenada. And but overall, that's the best years, best vacations of my life, and I've been all over the planet. Well, I sure wish we could go back to Castro's Camp. Castro's Camp was known as a fishing place, so we would camp north of Castro's Camp, and we would go fishing also, and we'd catch enough fish to feed we go with 4 or 5 families. And we also had a Pacific lobster delivered to the campground. And we used to buy them for, I think, about $1 a piece or something like that, some ridiculous price. I'll tell you what, that was really, really, really great times for us. And all the kids grew up from teenagers to, in fact, my son's still riding motorcycles, and he's 62. Anyway, that's my experience. And on any Sunday I remember the theater we went. It was either the Criterion or the Elmira in Santa Monica, at what is now the Santa Monica Mall. Back to net control.
That's amazing, Cecil. I'm just picturing the whole thing. I know I've been down to San Felipe, and we did the same kind of thing, camping and fishing. And I don't think we had bikes back then, or we didn't take bikes with us. But Mike's Sky Ranch, yeah, it's about 80 miles south, I think, of Ensenada. And that was where I first experienced drinking ice chest water. I mentioned that before when we did stuff about water and filtering. But going through the desert and just being so thirsty, I remember stopping just before we got to Mike's Sky Ranch. And I was like everyone had beer, there was plenty of beer, but I was pretty young. And so I just wanted ice water. And I managed to get some out of there, but, we'll leave the rest of it to your imagination. But it probably was... I'm sure it's probably better than our tap water today, right? But that's, that was so fun. And then getting there, and then the pool at the Mike's Sky, I guess they call it Mike's Sky Rancho. I just Googled it this afternoon. It pops right up. The pool looks a lot better in the pictures. When I was there, it was green, and I think we still went in it. We were so tired, dusty, and dirty. I didn't care. Like I said, I drank ice chest water. Thank you, Cecil, for sharing that. What a great memory, definitely. Let's say hello to Jim, KE6FBN. This is Bob W6CJX Net Control.
Good evening, everyone. Kilo Echo 6 Foxtrot Victor November. Sorry, no fishing or fishy stories. All I have is a good evening hello. KE6FVN, back to Bob Net Control.
Well, Jim, I was missing a good evening hello. And so I've got that right next to your name, Hello. Thank you, Jim. Always. No, I like to know you're there. We know that you're doing well, and hope David's doing well as well. And so good to hear from you tonight. Yeah, Cecil, I actually reached out, so that was kind of semi-pre-planned, but I did kind of reach out and said what I was doing for this week, and he said, I said, would there be any way you'd be around? He said, I wouldn't miss it. Because I knew of his experience with motorcycles and going down across the border down there and all that. So I've been kind of like giddy all day, just waiting for his check-in tonight. As is everyone's. Everyone's check-in's great. Let's say thank you, Jim. Let's say hello to Hal in 6AJL.
November 6, Hotel Alpha Lima. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for doing the net. I'm not a off-road motorcycle rider, so I don't have any stories for that. I did do a little bit of street motorcycle riding back in the early 70s. Started off with a Honda CB 200, then I switched to a CB 360, gave up the street bikes and bought a Honda 250 three-wheeler for the desert. That's where I did any off-road riding in a three-wheel motorcycle. Got rid of that and built up a dune buggy, Volkswagen dune buggy. So that's the extent of my riding, with the exception of I have 2 sons that were very enthusiastic motorcycle off-road racing bikes. I went and watched them race quite a bit in the desert over at Carlsbad. So that's my story, about all I got for motorcycle riding. Thanks for doing the net again, Bob. November 6th, Hotel Alpha Lima, back to the net.
Are you kidding? That was perfect. You've done that a few times. You say, I don't have anything really for the net, but then you come up with a good one. You pull out, you're always teasing us, I think, a little bit. If three-wheelers works, even the street bikes. I have to admit, when I did go see the original On Any Sunday. I guess there's an On Any Sunday too, and I'm sure I've seen it. I just focus in on the original. But I have to admit, when you get into it, you're expecting all this off road and motocross and desert racing and stuff, and they start off with the Grand National track racing, and that's great, and you appreciate it and all that. But I was like, well, wait a minute, and then they do road racing with road bikes, and it's all great. But then they finally, get into the good stuff. And anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Thank you, Hal, so much. Always thank you for being there. And let's say hello to Sam, W6. Sam, Juliet, Mike.
Good evening, Bob. It's good to talk to you. I'm about to cross the border into TJ, so I have about 5 seconds more of legal transmitting. So 73's to you on the net. I'll talk to you later.
Well, why didn't you say so? Thanks, Sam. Wow, that now there's some real mobile traffic right there. I'm just getting ready to cross over the border, and I gotta go because otherwise I'll be breaking international radio laws. I love it. Thank you, Sam. Always good to hear you too. Thank you, sir, for being there, and a good friend too. Let's see if we can find Jamie MRX. Is it KO6 MRX? I just wrote down suffixes.
Hi, Bob, and all on that. This is Jamie, KO6 MRX, and yes, you're correct. I had a mini bike, and then, like you, Bob, when I was about 13, my dad got me a Honda Trail 70, and I rode that around for about a year, and then I had a 125 that was kind of a scrambler. And then somewhere in late high school, I stopped riding, but I had a lot of fun when I did ride, and I used to ride the 125 illegally on the street when I was 14. I was real lucky I never got caught. But that's all I have, Bob. Thank you for running the net. KO6MRX, back to the net.
Well, thank you, Jamie. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we all kind of graduated. I had, boy, I guess I could run through it really quick. We kind of got a new bike. I got hand-me-downs. So I got my dad's hand-me-downs, but I went from the Honda 50, which was a Christmas present, to the Honda 90, which is what he had, the Trail 90, that had the high-low gear. You could switch in the transfer case. I always pretended it was a four-wheel drive when I'd put it in low gear. Then I went to an SL 100. That was kind of a multi-sport type bike back then. And then I ended up getting his SL 350, which had the twin pipes, which was kind of cool on that. But that was our Hondas anyway. Then we had some Kawasaki's and things. Thank you, Jamie. And let's say hello to Bill, N6 UTD. I don't know if he's ever been on a bike. I think he has. But let's see if he's out there tonight. Good evening, Bill, and welcome.
Hey, good evening, Bob, and everyone on the net. So, interesting topic tonight. It's interesting that, On Any Sunday came out in 71. I didn't see it probably till about 1981, which is when I saw it on VHS, which is when And Any Sunday 2 came out, which is interesting because Bob Hanna was in that movie. And it was right around 1981 when all the bikes changed. So huge difference in bikes between 71 when On Any Sunday was made and 1981, which especially in the off-road bikes, from about 1981 on resembles the bikes of today in a lot of ways, because that's when Honda went to the ProLink suspension in the rear. But they still have, what's really interesting is they have it's called American Retrocross, and it's a organization that puts on vintage motocross races. The next one is at Glen Helen on July 25, so next Saturday. And then the next one after that, September 19. So if you ever wanted to go out and see the old vintage motorcycles race, AmericanRetrocross.org has the schedule there. It's neat classes. So a lot of the riders are 40 plus. They have classes for everyone, 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, and even 70 plus in age. So yeah, imagine that, 70 plus riders out there still racing their old dirt bikes. And they also besides breaking it down by age, they also break it down by how old the bike is. So They have a class for 10 years and older, 20 years and older, 30 years and older, etc. So really neat place to see some of the old bikes. But with me tonight, I have some third-party traffic since we're talking about on any Sunday. My good friend Bill here, his name's also Bill. He knew Steve McQueen and Malcolm Smith, and so I'm gonna third-party traffic the handset over to him, and then maybe you'll start us off with a question and get him going, and we'll go from there. So I'll take a quick break if you have anything you want to say before that.
No, I don't. That's awesome. Bill and Bill. That won't be too hard to remember his name. I'm hoping Carolyn will come in with her story too, because she worked for Chad, his son, and she'll probably have something with that later. But absolutely, go ahead, Bill and Bill.
Yeah, maybe I'll get him started. He mentioned to me as we were listening to the introduction that he bought his first, or I don't know if it was first Harley, but his Harley from the guy that was mentioned in the introduction that had the dog. Anyway, I'll pass it over to Bill. Third-party traffic, N6UTD.
He ran Catalina, and I mentioned that to Bill, and he perked up, and I told him he was surprised that I knew anything about it, and I said, yeah, my dad raced for about, 6 or 7 years in Catalina. We used to put the bike in the back of our boat, go over there and road race. In 1968, we left there late, about 2:30, and a storm come rolling in, and it pulled the anchors completely out of the floor and pitched the Harley over about 3/4 of the way over, pitched it completely out of the boat. And that bike my dad used to race at Ascot Stadium. He used to race at Lions Drag Strip, and he used to do racing with Steve McQueen. So we have a long history, years around Steve McQueen. My dad was a promoter. He started the Mexican 1000, the Mint, the Stardust, and those type races. And he got with Steve McQueen and got him introduced in Jeeps at Pismo, and my dad says, go with my son, and he'll teach you how to drive in the sand dunes, because it's entirely different than riding a motorcycle. I went out with Steve in about 5 minutes and showed him a couple of things, and he goes, oh, that's interesting. Then I changed places. I was driving the Jeep. I changed places with him. He got in it and took off like he's been doing it all his life. So it was very interesting to be in that position with Steve McQueen.
Well, I can't even imagine. I just being that close, and he did that with just about everything, and don't forget, the Great Escape. I think he did his own stunt work with the motorcycle, jumping over the famous scene of him jumping over the fence and everything. But yeah, he just like they always kind of joke with him a little bit, or even I think on any Sunday, he would check in to most of the races under an assumed name of different, because the production companies and the studios would have a fit if they knew he was out there racing motorcycles 100 miles an hour. Anything else from either Bill? Go ahead.
Well, a lot of people don't know that when he rode Vegas, and he rode in the Baja boot and in Vegas and everything, he always had a full disguise on. And quite often when he would ride over on the weekends and ride around, he had a complete disguise on. Unless he talked to you, you wouldn't know it was Steve McQueen. He got very creative in a lot of the disguises that he wore, just so the public wouldn't mess with him. I'll tell you a real funny story. Him and Malcolm Smith was together on a freeway overpass, and he looked at each other, and Malcolm said to him, have you ever rode the guardrail over the top? He says, no. He says, you get on one side of the freeway overpass, I'll get on a wheelie, and who falls off first has to buy all the beer. And they went across the freeway, rode for the next 5 or 6 miles on a wheelie all the way, and they both got so tired they called it a draw, and they just set the bike back down, and we laughed about it because they could ride for miles and miles doing a wheelie. And there's a place in Anza Borrego they call the Big Wash, and the trestle goes across there for about 8 miles. Well, they got on one side of the rail was Steve McQueen, the other side was Malcolm Smith. They popped a wheelie, and they rode all the way across, and I was on the other side watching, and I was driving a Jeep, and I asked him when they came down, what do you do if a train comes? He said, well, you hope the bike runs a lot faster than the train does.
Yeah, that's well, in them, the stuff that they probably did, which is what you're saying, with stuff we probably never have heard of. None of us have heard any of those stories, of course. But the if you when you watch on any Sunday, the original one, and you get to the part of the movie where they're in the sand dunes and they're on their Husqvarnas, my favorite motorcycle in the whole world, a Husqvarna. They were just, speeding up and down the sand and just having a good old time. I think they even crashed a couple of times. So, yeah, he and Malcolm were pretty good buddies. Never met Steve McQueen, but I did see Malcolm, and I was just a kid. But, he was really super nice at his bike shop over there in Riverside. I think it was on, Indiana Avenue or something? But it was just down the hill from Idlewild. Well, I thank you both for coming in. I probably got a kind of a long list right here, but let me send it back to Bill in 6UTD just so he can secure his station. And really appreciate those stories, Bill. Absolutely. Like I said, none of this was too planned, a little bit, no more than any other net, but it's sure I did actually reach out to Bill too. Bill 1, and then he brought in Bill 2. Bill 1, go ahead.
Yeah, one last thing that was pretty funny. I just rewatched On Any Sunday, and someone, I think it was you, mentioned that the producer liked to make it kind of funny. He was kind of a comedian, so I was just thinking about my favorite part of the movie was at the beginning. They showed different profiles of people riding at the beginning, and there was this girl in a red shirt, and let's just say she was bouncing all over the place. Best scene of the movie. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks, Bob, and good evening to everyone on the net. N6UTD, Redlands.
Well, awesome, Bill and Bill. I couldn't ask for better than that. That's pretty cool. And being out in that area of, I guess the Inland Empire, we'll just call it, with motorcycles. I mean, if you weren't on a dirt bike, there was probably something wrong. You know what I mean? Back in the day, and all that. And I like the one, I was watching it, like I said, this afternoon, and the one where the guy says, well, your neighbor, it looked like he had like a kind of a new bike. I know they probably set it all up, but they said he's giving you pointers on, here's where the clutch is, here's the throttle, here's the brake, and, don't touch the brake, or you'll go over the handlebars and all this stuff. And then so the guy takes off on the bike, and then they're chasing him around, kind of like the Keystone Cop thing. So we'll get everybody to look at that wants to look at On Any Sunday here pretty soon, because it's on YouTube. There's several of them on there, and it's free if you're on YouTube. Thank you, Bill, very, very much. Bill and Bill, appreciate that. We'll have to maybe do this again sometime. I'm going to reach out real quick to Carolyn. I don't know if she's out there, KK6LMC. Maybe you could inject your story with the McQueen family, and might be a good time for it. So let's see. I'll take a pause here.
Hi, everybody. This is Carolyn, KK6LMC. Well, I was lucky enough to do plant service for Chad McQueen, the son, and he was part of my route in the 80s, and it was for servicing indoor plants. And I'll be darned if he doesn't go and open the garage and he goes, here, I want to show you some stuff. The garage was totally full of all kinds of motorcycles. So I just couldn't believe it that he did that for me and show me. And the really good one was it was a 1923 Big Indian Chief. Those are very rare, I would think. But they were just packed up, and then I guess they take them, in trailers and go back down to what you guys are all talking about. But he was quite the character, I have to say. So I'll give it back to you, Bob, KK6LMC.
Well, perfect timing. We got you in there, and yeah, when I knew Carolyn at that time, we were I don't know if we were married yet or not. I don't think we were. But she told me about it. I'm like, really? You can't take me to Chad's house? I got to see these motorcycles. Because my first experience, well, actually seeing Steve McQueen, and it was at 100 and something miles an hour, was at the Elsinore Grand Prix. And that's something we attended quite often. I think we went about 3 times maybe. And a couple times we took our bikes and we just rode around and then we'd go down and watch the race. But anyone who remembers the Elsinore Grand Prix, and yeah, and that was actually in the movie too. And then you had to look out for Cookie, the dog that rode on the gas tank with the I forgot his. Well, it's in the 101 there, but the guy that put the patch of carpet on there. But they used to do a lot of like Barstow to Vegas and those runs too. So thank you, Carolyn, KK6LMC. This is W6CJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. Let's see. The next station I have is I forgot your name. I don't have your name, so I'm going to just say KI6 Charlie Sierra. I think I know it.
Good evening, Bob and Annette. KI6CS, Mike here in Cathedral City, California through Papa 18. Most of my motorcycle experience was limited to riding one of my buddy's dirt bikes out in my late teens, early 20s, just trying to learn how to use them, but never really got too far into it. Been the passenger on a regular two-wheel street legal motorbike as well, but that's been it. Never saw the movie, so anyway, I'm going to wish everybody a good evening and turn it back to net control so you can move on to the next person. KI6CS.
All right, Mike. Yeah, well, you're out there in that area too, where there's, we used to go to, I don't know where we used to go. I was too young. I didn't drive back then. I rode motorcycles. In order to do that, my dad had to take me, or a group of people that would go there. I remember one of my favorite places to go riding was, which now is by Temecula. Back then it was called Butterfield Country or Rancho California. Not sure what the official name was back then, but they had a camping area, and we literally would go there a lot of times on the weekends, but other times it would just be we'd spend our whole Easter there or something, whatever we had time off from work or school. And that was always the fun place to go camping and ride. We just we rode all day long. Thank you, Mike. And let's say hello to Jeff, AB6MB, San Francisco Bay.
Hello, Bob, and thanks for doing the net. Yeah, pretty interesting tonight. I remember riding my cousin had a farm in eastern Washington, and I grew up in the Seattle area, so we were out there quite a bit, and they had a Honda 90, a Trail 90, with the rack in the back there that you could actually sit on, and then had a regular seat for the driver. And I remember one time we were going on the back 40 there, and he hit a bump, and I went up in the air a little bit, and I came down, and my tailbone right on top of this part of the rack was sticking up, and it felt like my tailbone got shoved up between my ears, and I have to admit it, I was crying. I was like 13 or 12 or something like that. Man, did that hurt. Then another time I was driving my friend's motorcycle down in Arizona, and he was stationed down there as a Marine, and so I was riding out there at night, and I took a left turn at a stoplight, and I got a policeman pulled me over right away, and I said, sir, what's the matter? And he says, well, how come you didn't use the turn lane? I said, believe me, I would have used it, but I didn't see it. He goes, matter of fact, there is a lot of sand over there. But meanwhile, I want to ask you, how come you're got a Washington driver's license, driving a bike that has California plates here in Arizona? I said, oh, my buddy's a Marine over there, and I'm down visiting him. He just laughed. He said, oh, okay, well, that makes sense now, but you have me going. Anyway, that's my motorcycle story, exciting as they are. So back to you, Bob, AB6MB.
Yeah, weren't the Trail 90s were just really something. They're still around today. A friend of mine, Juan Brown, who is a pilot, actually, he loves motors. In fact, well, I won't get into all that. He rode his motorcycle he had his pilot's license when he was, I don't know, 12 or 13, whatever, how the youngest you can get your pilot license. And then he rode a motorcycle because he wasn't old enough to drive a car yet. So he had his permit or whatever. But I think he bought one not too long ago. And you can get them with like the little extra gas tanks on the back where you can, open it and just pour in some gas if you run low. Pretty neat. And then a lot of the bikes had a reserve, which was always kind of cool to have too. Sounds good, Jeff. Sounds like a kind of a bumpy ride there, but it sounds like you survived and are able to still sit down. Let's say hello to Ron, KF4PQH. Good evening, Ron, and welcome to the net.
Good evening, Bob and Annette. This is KF4PQH out in Locust Grove, Virginia. So I never really got into motorcycles too much. I fantasized about it quite a bit. Closest I got to it was riding one of my nephew's dirt bikes around the block a number of times. Or I was visiting a friend, and it was in the winter, and he had one of these, I think now outlawed three-wheelers that we ran around in the snow with and had a lot of fun. And I had a dog at the time who was chasing me around and just had a great time. So in April of 2016, when we were first traveling around the country, we were in a place called Maggie Valley, North Carolina. And out there you will find the Wheels Through Time Museum, founded by a guy named Dale Wachsler. And in 38,000 square feet, they've got over 375 bikes, of which nearly all of them run. They call it the museum that runs. And it's an amazing exhibit. Anybody's into motorcycles, if you ever get out on the East Coast, that's where you want to go. If you go to their website, again, it's wheelsthroughtime.com. They actually are running an annual raffle right now. And this year's winner has the opportunity to get a iconic 1946 Harley-Davidson Knucklehead or a streamlined 1939 Harley-Davidson UL Flathead if you win the raffle. So great place to check out, great place to see. 7-3 to everybody out there. Stay safe and try and find it out.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. You got cut off when you said try to find, and I know what you're going to say, so I will say it for you. Try to find something kind to do to someone or for someone at least once a day, and whether it's just opening a door or saying hello, and hopefully they'll say hello back. It's sometimes difficult, I know, but it's nice to be nice to people. Thank you, Ron. And I was going to mention earlier a little bit back up the log there when we're talking about the bikes, and Harley Davidson, we know now is the really cool bikes that go cruising on the streets and everything, but at one time they had some pretty nice dirt bikes, and especially for racing and for that the AMA track racing and stuff was all pretty much Harley Davidsons. So they had some great ones back then, and you'll see a lot of that in the movie too. All right, well, thank you, Ron. Say hello to Dee and give her a wave from here, from California. And let's see if Mandy's still out there. KO6 Oscar Juliet Whiskey. Welcome to the net.
Kilo Oscar 6 Oscar Juliet Whiskey. Thanks for having me, Bob. I don't do too much dirt bike riding personally, but my kids do. My son is 10 and he's got a Husqvarna 2-stroke that he just got, and the amount of riding I do is just putting around our property, and I went on one wheel accidentally with that, so that was about the last time I went on that dirt bike, but that's the extent of my dirt bike story, so thanks for having me. KO6OJW Mandy.
Oh, that's not fair. He's got a Husqvarna? I've got one too. It's a little tiny thing up here on the side of my shack. It's one of the newer styles, I guess. So it's a Rockstar version, I guess, when they were doing Supercross. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good for him. I'm sure he's enjoying it. That was probably one of my favorite bikes. I had the WR 250 wide ratio, which was 6-speed, so it was really for desert. But man, you could go through sand. All you do is get up on the peg, stick your rear end back as far as you could while you're still holding onto the handlebars. You can go through any sand. It was just amazing. But thank you, Mandy, and appreciate you, and thanks for kind of being a regular. We like our regulars for sure. What was I going to say? Oh, the Husqvarna. I worked in the banking industry, and a lady that was from Sweden who worked there, and our equipment was actually made in Sweden. These cash machines. Anyway, fast forward. I mentioned something about a Husky or a Husqvarna motorcycle, and she goes, "What's that?" And I said, "A motorcycle from Sweden?" And she goes, "Oh, I thought they just made sewing machines, because that's really where it's, I guess, started. It was sewing machines." She said, "My grandmother had a Husqvarna sewing machine." And I said, "A what?" And she said, Husqvarna. And I'm like, Husqvarna? What the heck? It's a Husqvarna. Anyway, long story short, it was fun. And so I've been trying to say it properly as they do it in Sweden. All right. Thank you, Mandy. Again, let's say hello to Rick, DGX in Santa Ynez. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Bob. Hope I'm getting in okay on All-Star. On the top of a ladder where I paused to listen in, and then booting back to the dude, Bill, that talked about racing motorcycles on Catalina. I just wanted to invite that guy, kind of like check in more often, maybe mention that a hobby or experience, because I'd sure like to talk to that cat. And what else that we got down the line there? My own experience with well, I love motorcycles and off-roading and stuff like that. But as a little kid, of course, it was a bull taco. I mean, you were the holy grail. Riding that what was a Trail 50, Honda Trail 90, one of those, the 70. But you had the gearbox. You had a real motorcycle under you. But the bull taco, man, that was cool, man. It was a lawnmower motor and a lot of oomph. Dude, man, those things can take off. And if you rode the bull taco, you actually had rear suspension, and which very much was cool. But otherwise, the regular taco mini bikes, you had to be ready to absorb it with the 3-inch cushion on that seat. But back to you. A lot of fun. KO6 DJX.
Well, I'm glad you brought up one of the old bikes. Yeah, Bull Taco. There used to be Hodaka. What did we used to have? Mako. Of course, KTM is out there now too, which kind of took over the off-roading, which is great. Let's see, some other ones. Anyway, I think I used to have a Bull Taco T-shirt. I know I don't now, but I did at one time. Probably was made to give it away or get rid of it. Can't wear that every day. Thank you, Rick, and be careful on that ladder. Logan, KD6 LLB. I'm getting to the list there. I'm getting down it. Welcome to the Great Outdoors.
Good evening, Bob, and good evening, everyone out there. This is Logan, Kilo Delta 6, Lima Bravo, coming in on All-Star. Yeah, I guess there's not a lot of interest in motorcycles out there. Hi. Yeah, it's kind of a funny trajectory for me. I grew up, there just weren't enough motorized things when I was a kid. So every now and then we would get a mini bike, or we would build a mini bike, or anyway, we would end up with a mini bike. And it usually didn't last long. We were pretty hard on them. And we were kind of hard on everything. And I had friends that I'd get to see occasionally, and we'd go ride. They had MR50s, and I don't remember, there's some sort of a trials bike that was a 50cc or a 90cc. I don't know. There was a bike that I used to get to ride that I really liked when I was a kid. So anyway, when I finally escaped adult supervision, I scraped together some pennies and bought people are going to laugh at this bike. It's not a good choice, but I got a good deal on it, and I could get it, or I could wait 6 weeks or something. So I bought a Katana. I think it's a GS 550, and I actually, I tried to improve it, but that's what I had, I got a lot of good use out of that bike until a truck showed me my tibia and fibula, and so I didn't ride for a couple of years. Well, actually, probably about a year and a half later, when I was in college, I got for like a Honda, what is it, an XL 100, and then I sold that and got an XL 250, and then again, people will laugh, but this was a really good bike, a Kawasaki KLR 650. It's a water-cooled engine, and I could actually drive with my girlfriend in some basic provisions all the way down to Port Aransas with that, and it never let us down. So I did have the good fortune to have some friends with Ninjas and Interceptors and things like that. I also got a couple of turns on a YZ100, and I sort of rode a YZ250, but I decided that was not a good move for me. If anybody's been on one of those, they're very hard to control. So, but Ninjas, Interceptors, I did get to ride on a closed track, and my friends that I was riding with went on to race sort of semi-pro. They're very serious about it for years and years. But yeah, I just don't have the knack for that. I don't have the vision in particular. But hands down, my favorite stories, favorite experiences were my buddy Albert and I used to basically just set out late at night, kind of impromptu, and take long trips just all around the Texas Hill Country at night in summer. Just really nice weather, warm air, stars, empty, dark roads in the Texas Hill Country, and, winding, and just, it was magical. And no reason, no real destination, just about as free as it gets. And we used to love doing that. And the funny thing to me is I still remember Albert would call me up at like 10 at night and say, "Hey, you want to go catch some bugs in your teeth?" And if you've ridden in the Texas Hill Country in the summer or anywhere where there are bugs, you'll get the idea. So I also wanted to just comment. Bruce Brown was he was a surf movie maker. He was in he served in a submarine in the Navy, and then he made surf movies in Hawaii after that. And they're part documentaries, and they're very humorous. He has a special sense of humor. And then he made Endless Summer, and then the subject of this discussion, On Any Sunday. But I also want to mention his son, one of his sons, Dana Brown, sort of followed in his footsteps and made Step into Liquid, and then a movie that I actually recommend highly, Dust to Glory, and it's about the Baja 1000. And it's just a unique type of film. There were, I don't know how many, just film crews all over the Baja 1000 so they could sort of catch it all. And I don't know of anything that compares to it. Just like On Any Sunday is one of a kind, Dust to Glory is one of a kind. And all right, well, I've rambled on, yep. Good topic, good discussion. Great to hear everyone, and stay safe on the road. And do something kind for someone, as Ron reminds us. KD6 LLB, back to net.
Well, thank you, Logan. I think I've seen that movie. I was quite an enthusiast with the Baja racing, and I didn't do any actual Baja. I used to always say we went on the Baja 100 when we'd go down to Mike's Sky Ranch, because it was about 100 miles from Ensenada, and maybe parts of that were part of the Baja 100. But the 1000, that's another whole animal for sure. And as we all get kind of older and maybe can't ride dirt bikes and stuff anymore, it's something to consider is like a side-by-side. My brother-in-law Bill has a side-by-side, and I just wish we had something like that back in the day when I could have actually had some fun with it, like when we did camping and stuff. Gosh, what a blast. But anyway, thank you, Logan. Yeah, and Dana did do a lot of other films too. On Any Endless Summers, was actually probably more famous than On Any Sunday, but it just depends on who you talk to. W6CJX for the Papa System. What is today? Sunday. Oh, how could I forget it's Sunday? On Any Sunday. Sunday, Great Outdoor Net. And let's say hello to Ellen. We got all the ladies are coming out tonight for motorcycle night. Hey, I like it. Ellen, K6DV.
Oh, thank you, Bob. K6DV. Seems like a lot of the conversation is about dirt bikes, however, so maybe I'm in the wrong shop here. But you all know I ride a BMW, and I put miles on it, and I really enjoy what I do with it, especially the motorcycle trips that involve camping and destinations in other states. It's always a great deal of fun. Nothing this year. Was going to Wisconsin this past weekend. I should have been in Wisconsin, but the roof and all of that entails, it kind of derailed that. Anyway, love listening to the net and the conversations and the topics. So back to you, Bob, and I will look at that massive machine in my garage and whip that thing out of there and head down the road real soon. K6 Delta Victor.
Well, definitely all motorcycles are fair game tonight. I had after I had my accident, which sounded like it was very close to what Logan had. I think we kind of talked about it one time where a lady in a station wagon showed me my tibia and my fibia. I wanted to see what was inside there. I'll leave it at that. And it took me about a year and a half. But I ended up and I was on a dirt bike on a country road, we'll say. Probably illegally, I guess. And after that, you wouldn't think my parents would let me buy a street bike. Are you kidding? After being laid up for a year and a half, and oh my gosh. But I did. I got the KZ 650 Kawasaki, and then Carolyn got to ride on that a bit. We had some fun sliding into gravel parking lots, but that's another story. Thank you so much, Ellen. And yeah, keep on riding. Absolutely, 100%. A bike's a bike, If and there's it's all motorcycle love. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's see if RJ's still with us. KM6AVH, welcome, RJ.
Yeah, KM6AVH. I'm here, watching a video. Well, I got nothing for off-road. My Unimog is still at the dealership. I haven't taken possession of it yet. And, I remember On Any Sunday. In fact, I shot a different version of that back in the 70s, back up at the Palmdale drag strip. It was based on the same concept, except it was for drag racing instead of motorcycles. And I don't know, that's somewhere on the web, but that was a fun day of shooting, and it was a good day. But other than that, that's it for me. No off-roading for me. Although when I did go on a road trip, I did rent a 4x4 because I knew I was going on some dirt roads up in Utah and Montana. And that I did. There was some pretty big ruts, rain ruts that were in the road that I bounced through. But other than that, don't own any personal four-wheel drive vehicles. All right, KM6AVH, back to net control. Thanks for doing the net.
Well, thank you, RJ. Yeah, that all qualifies. Anything off-road and having a little fun, and even if it doesn't qualify, it's still welcome. Anything you have for the net is always welcome. And just a lot of fun over the years. I'm not sure where this all came from, the idea. I mean, I've got ideas popping in my head all the time for net topics, but it's something that I did put down in my little net topic log of things to maybe think about doing one day, and just been wanting to do it. And then I think since it was like that movie was released in July, I just said, this is time. It sounds like a good time to do that. So, and it looked like it was pretty well received by the look at my sheet here. I've got one more station on my list. I didn't get a full call sign, but I did get Yankee Charlie India. So if you are him or her, please come now.
Good evening, Bob.
Bob and the Net. This is Larry, K6YCI, and thanks for hosting the Net. Great movie. I saw it shortly after it came out back in the 70s. For you, Bob, I've got 3 Honda CT90s that are restoration projects, including my dad's 1968 that has been in the family since I was 8 years old, and my current ride is a reverse trike. Have a great evening, everyone.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you, Larry. Wow, that's yeah. The bikes. Some of the older bikes are coming back, or well, like you said, restoration projects, and you see them on Marketplace sometimes and different places like that, and you're kind of like, wow, God, I'd sure like to have one of those again, but some of them are pricey, and even on, let's say, what Counts Customs and Restoration, those different shows that are on like A&E and stuff are pretty neat to see some of the older bikes and things. So that's a lot of fun. All right, I'm going to do a real quick last call. We're going over a little bit, which is fine. I love having all this information and being able to share and with each other and everything. This is W6EJX, Bob, Net Control. Let's see if we have just another 1 or 2 quickies.
KC6, WTN.
This is WK2B, Whiskey Kilowatt 2 Bravo, listening in Memphis, Tennessee. Good evening.
Okay, let's take those 2. I got one from Tennessee. I love Tennessee. And I've got one from Simi. I love Simi too. Okay, let's say hello to Jeff. Okay, right now I got to get his call sign. KC6 WTN. I did it. People have such a hard time, and it's not that hard. Go ahead, Jeff.
That's one of the reasons I don't want to get a vanity call. I love keeping people on their toes. Anyways, back in the 90s, I was an assistant producer with Maxis EA Sports, and we did a third-party publishing for a company that produced a motocross game called Motor Racer and Motor Racer 2 for PlayStation. So I got a lot of experience playing that, so that's the bulk of my dirt bike experience. But we also had a producer that got the ins with a few riders and their organizations, motocross. So he was able to score all of us on the EA team jerseys, the pro jerseys that he actually would wear on the circuit. And somewhere in my closet, I actually have one, and it's great. It's got all the graphics and sponsor badging, and it's a pro jersey. So that's my claim to dirt biking. Back to Net Control, KC6 WTN.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I've played a couple of those. I'm not a big gamer, but I did play some of those, like on my phone. I don't know. I wasn't on PlayStations, but it was fun. And you can kind of get a little, like we used to call wet body English. You twist yourself sideways so that you set yourself up for the next corner and next curve, stuff like that. It was fun. I mean, you kind of pretended like you were on the bike. You had different views if you were on the bike or if you're in front of the bike or behind the bike. All those kind of things. All right, let's check in with Tennessee, if he's still out there with us. I got kind of a call, but I'm not sure. Go ahead and give me your call and name and anything you have for the Net tonight, and we'll close with you.
Yeah, good evening to you, the Net, to everybody. My name is David, Delta Alpha Victor Item Delta, and the call is WK2B, Whiskey King 2 Baker. WK2B. I was just surfing and found you here, and I guess it's a motorcycle Net tonight. Certainly a privilege to speak to all of you from the city of Elvis Presley. We've got Elvis Week on the way here. Of course, he was a huge motorcycle fan. I've had a number of bikes, including a Suzuki 900 Water Buffalo with a water-cooled engine, GS 750, number of Yamahas. I had an Harley XLH 1200 that I drove a bunch. Swapped it for Mercedes-Benz, as a matter of fact. A number of Honda Rebels. Just so many bikes. But anyway, good evening to everybody. Hope everyone's having a fine summer. Thanks for letting me check in. We'll say best 73 all. Hope to talk to you again. Good night. WK2B.
Well, good to hear you tonight too, David, and thank you for that. Yeah, the town of Memphis, that was one of my fun trips I took for work. Had to go to Graceland, and it was neat. It was Christmas time, so I got to see the big white Christmas tree in the living room, and that was really a great memory for me. But speaking of memories, I hope we jogged a few tonight. We definitely had some fun here on the net. We're here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Our time, Pacific time. So if you're out and about and cruising and scanning around, come on by. We try to have a different subject every week for the great outdoors with that. And in case you can't make it,
the Papa System has a great outdoor net archive that can be found on the Papa System website by accessing the homepage and drop down to YouTube tab with over 100 episodes that you can listen to anytime. These are a non-for-profit podcast for the pure love and joy of the great outdoors and amateur radio.
Absolutely. Yep, and you can get it anywhere, wherever you, as they say, wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to them if you really want to hear it again. But it is a lot nicer to hear it after it's been edited. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the net at 21:23. We got a little bit extra on this one, so that's good, and that all costs the same, right? So, hope everyone has a great rest of the week. We start our week here every Sunday evening, and then Monday, Tuesday, and I'll go through them there. I want to thank Cecil and all the tech team out there for the Papa System that let us have these great nets. They're all great nets, not just this is just called a great net. I don't know whether it's great or not. That's up to public opinion. And I want to thank, of course, all the net controllers too for all the nets.
Because great again.
And something's beeping. Oh, that must be me. Okay. All right, I'll say 7-3 and close the net, and we'll return the system back to normal. Amateur